So this is the Hell in the Pacific. It is a 151 proof tribute to the sailors, Marines, and soldiers who fought through the most brutal, transformative, and logistically impossible theater of the Second World War. So after Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, the United States found itself fighting a war that stretched across thousands and thousands of miles of open ocean. And the strategy that ended up taking shape over the next 3 years was called island hopping. And the idea was to leapfrog across the Pacific, taking islands that could support airfields and supply lines while skipping over the ones that were already heavily fortified, and then eventually working your way close enough to Japan to put bombers within range of the mainland. So Tarawa was one of the first. November of 1943. The scene was a small, tiny 2-mile strip of coral in the Gilberts that most Americans had never heard of, and the Marines went in against a very dug-in Japanese force, and the fight lasted roughly 3 days. And of the 4,000 to 5,000 Japanese defenders, less than 20 survived, and around 1,000 Americans were killed. Now, the public back in the States were obviously shocked by the casualty numbers, so after Tarawa, the military started kind of rethinking how they planned amphibious landings. They studied tides more carefully and accelerated the use of underwater demolition teams to really clear the approaches. And then after Tarawa was the Marshalls, and then Kwajalein, and then Eniwetok, and then Saipan in the Marianas in the summer of 44. And the military really needed Saipan because it was close enough to Japan for the brand new B-29 bombers to make the round trip. And it was defended by over 30,000 Japanese troops, and the campaign lasted for about a month. The fighting was cave to cave and ridge to ridge through jagged limestone. And it just kept going. Guam, Tinian, Peleliu, and then the Philippines. And by early 45, the island hopping had brought American forces close enough for the final push. And for that final push, Iwo Jima came first. It's 8 square miles of volcanic rock defended by about 20,000 Japanese soldiers in tunnels and fortified positions. And it took 36 days, and over 6,000 Marines were killed. The Japanese fought nearly to the last man. Only around 200 were taken prisoner. And then came the final amphibious assault of the entire war, and it was the largest of the Pacific theater, Okinawa. Now, Okinawa laid a clear path for the final invasion of Japan, and fighting lasted 82 days, and the constant bombardment made the local Okinawans dub it the Typhoon of Steel, and more than 12,000 Americans were killed or went missing, and the Japanese lost over 100,000, and sadly, tens of thousands of innocent Okinawan civilians died in the crossfire. The Navy took more casualties at Okinawa than in any previous engagement in the war, mostly through kamikaze attacks. And we need to remember that most of the men doing this fighting on both sides were 18, 19, 20 years old, and a lot of them had never left their home state before they shipped out for the war. And for the ones who made it back, most of them carried it with them for the rest of their lives. And that's what Hell in the Pacific actually was. We're using it as a cocktail name, but they were living it. And while history is complicated, this cocktail really isn't. So it's 4 ingredients. It's lemon heart 151, lime juice, maraschino, and a bit of grenadine. And for the maraschino, I'm using Maraska. And I'm not the biggest fan of cherry liqueurs, but Maraska is kind of leagues above the competitors. And when a recipe really calls for a cherry liqueur, it's really, in my opinion, the only choice. So in honor of all of those soldiers on both sides who fought in literal hell, let's make the Hell in the Pacific. So we'll need 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, 1/4 of an ounce of grenadine, 1/2 of an ounce of a cherry liqueur, and 1.5 ounces of lemon heart 151. And we'll shake this drink with ice and dirty pour into a Pilsner glass. And the garnish will be Japanese and American flags attached to a lime wedge. And that, my friends, is how you make the Hell in the Pacific. It's an acquired taste, I will say that, and I don't believe I've fully acquired that taste yet. It's not a super balanced drink in my opinion. I know a lot of people online who have reviewed this drink in the past have said they cut down the burn from the 151 and the cherry liqueur with a little bit of simple syrup. And maybe I should have done that. That probably would make it a little better. If you are going to try this drink at home, I would say do that, unless you really love that burn from 151 and you love cherry liqueur. I would say just add some simple syrup in there, and hopefully it makes it a little bit better. But yeah, that's what I got for the cocktail. But so it's Memorial Day weekend. Tomorrow is Memorial Day, and you know, I typically, when it comes to Memorial Day, I will do cocktails that are reminiscent of or that remind us or are an homage to those who have served and lost their lives. And I've always done that. And for anybody who knows me personally knows that I am a huge history buff. When I first started going to college, I was going to get a history degree with a major in 20th century American history, really with a focus on World War II and then into the Cold War. And World War II holds a special place in my heart because my grandfather served in the Pacific. And thankfully, a lot of the stuff that he did in the Pacific was saved by the USS North Carolina Museum. So his diary, we can read his diary, we can see what he went through. There's really cool muster rolls with my grandpa on it. In my tiki bar outside, my two most prized possessions out there are, one, a picture of my grandfather, his official Navy picture, and then also I have a slab of the deck from the USS North Carolina that he served on. And those are probably two of the coolest things I own. So like I said, World War II is really close to my heart. I've been massively interested in it since a young age. I remember being like 6 or 7 years old and talking to my grandfather and my grandmother about V2 rockets, like, because they lived through it. And yeah, so it's a very interesting topic for me. It's one that hits really close to home. And there are some opinions on the end of World War II that I'm not going to get into because they can be controversial depending on who you are. But I know that that war ending led to eventually my father being born and then myself being born. So if the war didn't end when it did, there's a very good chance I could not be here today. So, but that's neither here nor there. I'm getting pretty heavy for a YouTube cocktail channel. But that all being said, it's Memorial Day weekend. I hope you all have a fantastic Memorial Day. I hope whatever you have planned is a great time. It's my first Memorial Day as a father, so it's been an interesting time over the past few weeks, I'll say that. But yeah, so Memorial Day, please, wherever you are, remember those who have served and lost their lives and those who served and thankfully didn't. So that all being said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Akole Maluna. Happy Memorial Day. Cheers and enjoy.